sister's a therapist and I tell jokes. We both want to help all kinds of folks.
Hello, and welcome to My Sister's a Therapist. This podcast is named that because my sister is a therapist, and her name is Laura.
Hello, my name is Laura Ryan. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. My other credits are Virginia Jones, stand-up comedian extraordinaire sister.
It's probably your best credit. Thank you, everybody who's listening. We appreciate it so much. If you are listening, what we would really appreciate is an Apple review. If you're putting 5 stars and leaving, God bless you, but we need you to write a review.
We love you for the 5 stars. We'll marry you if you write a review.
Yeah, we will each marry you, which is probably more of a punishment.
So, Virginia,
at least a mixed bag.
So, Virginia, what's our topic for today?
Once again, our topic is inspired by a TikTok. My sister, Laura, who's a therapist, sent me a TikTok of 2 women who had listed out things that they had put up with in relationships and stayed. Like that wasn't the final straw.
And as they were saying these things, I was so harshly judging these women because I was like, oh my gosh, I would never. Something as ludicrous as that. But then Jenny and I started compiling a list.
We started making our list. Yeah.
Wait a minute. I'm worse.
I just kind of wanted to talk through these, and maybe some of these will resonate with you, and maybe some of these will be a wake-up call for you, or maybe some of these you will say, if that ever did happen, I definitely would know it was time to go, because spoiler alert, all these relationships did end.
They should have ended the moment this thing happened, but they did end, in some cases, significantly later.
Although this covers a bunch of people and there's not going to be any like identifying marks, if you're an ex-boyfriend, maybe skip this one.
Go ahead and go to the next one.
Go ahead and give this one a pass. My first one, we've got a couple like on the topic of body stuff. You and I have body stuff because we're women
and we have bodies.
And we have bodies. In high school, and I hate myself for feeling this way, the Kathy cartoon told me I would look back at high school and say, I don't know why I complained about that one day in my frickin' life.
Right. I had a beautiful body.
I should have been naked all the time.
I'm not going to say that. I probably shouldn't have worn 3X t-shirts and 45-inch waist jeans.
I feel like that was Harmony Korine's fault, right?
No, I think that was the new wave movement / low self-esteem.
You fit right into like the slacker aesthetic, sliding into the grunge aesthetic. You were right on time.
That's true, but it was all black Morrissey t-shirts, so I'm not sure. I'm just to throw this out there as a fun fact about my fashion past. I went to a giant flea market and bought this pair of pants that were my height, which is very hard to find, right? My height is not a height that most people are. There are a lot of children who are my height. So I bought this pair of corduroy pants, which fit me perfectly in the leg. I think I'm going to say they were probably the size of, I think at that point I was $1.50 maybe. And I think that those pants were made for a person rounding 400 pounds. My solve was to wear those pants. I wore them to wear them to school with suspenders. And it was quite a look.
Pretty cool. Just like Punky Brewster or Mork from Ork.
But like giant. Think about like clown with the giant pants. Yeah. I was like almost like I was wearing a barrel.
So my first one, early relationship, high school relationship, told me what his ex-girlfriend's weight was and what her bust and waist and hip measurements were, just so I would know that I was a lot bigger than that.
I was in college. I was waiting tables, and the uniform was jeans and a t-shirt. And I had bought a new pair of jeans for work. They were, to be fair, not great. They were very inexpensive. They weren't the most flattering. Right, exactly. But I was like, I'm going to pay $9.99. And I was rushing out the door, and my boyfriend said, "You're not wearing those, are you? You look really fat."
How wonderful. And what kind of question is, you're not wearing those, are you? Like, yeah, clearly I'm wearing these. I'm pointing towards the door and these.
You saw me pick up my keys, right? I wasn't going to go ahead and take the pants off. What I got to do during that work shift was think about how fat I looked the whole time. So that was good.
That's cool. I had a boyfriend, this was in college, and he was extremely asthmatic, very, very sensitive to smoke. So I quit smoking for the first time for him. And sophomore year of college, I put on 8 pounds, 8 metric pounds.
Rocking on those LBs.
The thing is that I am almost 6 feet tall. I can put on and take off 8 pounds. Doesn't make a damn bit of difference. But he pointed it out. Like he mentioned it. And I loved it when he mentioned it.
Quick question.
like,
did you find
putting
it
on a little-
really helpful?
I found it not helpful at all. And then later, and it doesn't matter because the dude is dead. Later, I met his next girlfriend who was overweight and smoked. I'm like, well, what was this?
It's called moving the goalposts because I'm an
Yeah.
abuser. Same guy. I found out that he'd written a song about me. The title was Chunky Attractive Girl.
You know what? But at least you were attractive.
When you say at least, it always means something bad's about to happen.
There was a grocery store in my town that had it was 2 floors. So there was an elevator, which is kind of weird. You don't always have it in a grocery store, but it was like a big freight elevator. You would roll your cart into it. And he and I were in the elevator with 2 other men, whom are maybe a couple. I kind of perceived them
so
as
you
being
didn't,
a couple.
You didn't know them. They were strangers.
They were strangers. And he asked me for a bite of my chocolate. Like I was having something and he asked for a little and I was like teasing him about it. I'm like, no, I don't think so. And he called me the worst word you can call a woman.
That begins with the letter C?
That begins with the letter C. Called me that. He said, well, you're being a real. What was sad was that what really embarrassed me and like hurt me about it was that it was in front of people.
Right. And also like people you don't know, like strangers.
People I don't know.
Public.
Because he definitely called me stuff before, but like, oof, that was rough. And then for a long time, I was wearing like a denim skirt that I really liked. It was Calvin Klein, but I'd got it at Costco. I'm classy. But a long time I looked at it and I thought, that's the skirt that I got called the C word in.
To give you some perspective, if I had to think about every article of clothing I've been wearing when someone called me a C word, I wouldn't have any clothes left.
Again, we'd be walking around in barrels.
Junior year in high school, it was a blue corduroy barrel. My partner, this is a different person. I'm just clarifying. Mm-hmm. We had a double date on the books with another couple for months because this couple had a really complicated schedule. So it was hard to get them lined up with our schedule. I was heading home and when I got there, I realized he was incredibly drunk because instead of saying, I don't want to go, he decided I'm going to get so drunk that she'll never make me go. But he didn't know he was dealing with. He spent the entire evening trying to mess up my hair. I had a bump it in my hair and he kept trying to pull it out at the dinner table in a fine dining establishment. Let me just throw that out there. And he just basically kept making jabs and trying to humiliate me in front of this couple. And at one point, the woman in the couple took me aside in the bathroom and said, how did he get so drunk? And I thought, wow, this is good. This is a good relationship.
I also had an alcoholic who would get, I think of it as defensively drunk. He would get drunk so he wouldn't have to do the thing that we had planned to do. And most of the time I would relent because I'm like, I don't want to be out with you in public like this. But one time we had tickets to go see New Order. And I don't know why he decided that he didn't want to do that. But I went to go get him and he was absolutely knackered and basically frog marched him into a Thai restaurant and forced him to eat food. And I dragged him along to that concert and he was a mess and a sight to be seen. I just wasn't going to miss it. And I didn't want to leave him behind. And that's just how I do think about that in that Thai restaurant. I'm like, why did I do that?
Because you're tired. This isn't the first time. It's been happening for a long time and you're tired. Yeah. I had a similar one. I was going to see Badly Drawn Boy with my friend, Christy, who was visiting me. She was living in Prague. I was living in the UK. This was a big deal. You know, my sister was going and we'd had tickets for months. And on the day he was like, you know what? I really need to work on my taxes. I don't think I can do it. You think, oh, great. Want to work on your taxes. And he's like, but I'll pick you up at the train station. It's all good. You know what? Spoiler alert. He didn't pick me up at the train station.
Reader, he didn't do that.
And everything else had shut down at this point. I walked all the way home. We walked all the way home. I think it was a 2-hour walk. And when I got home, the sliding door was open. It was ajar. Okay. The house reeked of weed and there were liquor bottles all over the floor. So I felt really good in front of my friend Christy about this new relationship that I had just started.
This guy had anger stuff and he was super into destroying stuff. And part of it is that I'm an a-hole also. He had bought himself the punk rock leather jacket. It's called the Perfecto. Like that's the model, but like that biker jacket that everybody has. And he showed it to me and it was so new and squeaky, stiff. And I said something about it And I'm like, oh, wow. I was like, that's going to be great for the first day of school. And he threw it in the pool, but he bought me a present and it was a bottle of perfume that his ex-girlfriend wore. I'm like, why? Why? And he had told me that
Why
it's
did
like,
he tell you? That's the dumb part.
right. Why did he just say,
You don't tell
I like
them.
this perfume. I would like it if you wore it. In retrospect, it was a real vertigo type situation. How can it make any difference to you?
Exactly.
But when I complained about it, that I knew that it was his ex-girlfriend's perfume, he poured a large bottle of Fendi down the toilet.
This is also about other women. A man I was in a relationship with texted another woman the whole time we watched a movie together. And when I asked him to stop, he got really angry. He said, "Do you want me to stop?" And I said, "Yes." And then he just kept texting her.
Why would it bother you
Built
when
the
you're on
last-
a date with someone for him to be texting another woman?
Another woman who had professed her love to him on multiple occasions.
That's pretty cool.
And who he had had some canoodling with. Not just any woman. I'm okay with just women. Actually, it is pretty rude to text through the whole movie.
It's rude. Okay, it's rude just for anyone who's in a movie. But then it's also rude if you're with someone and you're constantly texting someone else. I did have a little adventure this week. I went to a rock show in my neighborhood, and David J. from Bauhaus, the bassist from Bauhaus and Love and Rockets, was there. I've seen him at this venue a couple times. I'm like, he must live near here. And I was keeping a set list because it was a specialty set and I just wanted to keep track of what all the songs were. And I did have the brightness turned down on my phone. I was typing and he put his gothic hand over the screen of my phone and like shook his head at me because
So it turns out it doesn't matter if you're in a cool band. Being a white boomer still makes you an entitled P word.
I was embarrassed. I was in the moment, I was very embarrassed and I moved away so I could go right on my phone whenever I wanted to. But then I'm like, is that a thing that I'm not allowed to have my phone out at a concert? I don't know.
He's a boomer. This is a person who there weren't phones when he started playing rock music. So this is new and different for him and he doesn't like it.
But I did feel bad that this is probably my only interaction with this person I'm ever going to have. And it was a negative
until
interaction.
you get married.
Well, I'm already too old to be married to him. Okay, let's just put it that way. Although we were at a Robyn Hitchcock show and I was talking to my friend, there is no easier gig for a doorman than at a Robyn Hitchcock show because everybody's 50.
It's true. I remember once being at a Robyn Hitchcock show and thinking, if I wasn't in a relationship right now, I would be cleaning up. There are a lot of
these daddies,
hot dorks all around.
It's hot dork central. Although when you are at a Robyn Hitchcock show and you see a very tall man who's dressed like Robyn Hitchcock, it might just be him like wandering around talking to people. Okay, more on the humiliation tip, passive aggressive humiliation. So I had a partner who had a lot of problems with me doing comedy, and it was one of the reasons I think our relationship ended. But one of the early indicators was I had a journalist who wanted to write an article about me, and she wanted to go like a deep dive. And she said, give me a list of close friends and acquaintances and your partner. And I'm going to send them a questionnaire about you. And then I'll use that to write my article.
And I think the idea is that these were softball questions for people who are supporting you, right?
Right. Who would be able to talk in glowing terms about how great I am. Like
hype
that
you
was
up. Right?
Yeah, hype me up. Hype me up a little bit. I did give her my boyfriend at the time's email, and she contacted me. And she said, hey, I can't use any of this. This is not what I was looking for, but I want to let you know that this is what he said.
Sister to sister, you're in an abusive relationship.
But she had asked, how does it feel to watch your girlfriend, your partner on stage, like stepping into her power and like being an artist and making people laugh? He said a series of very minimizing things. The thing that I remember was, well, I'm usually not paying attention. When she makes me go out with her, I will either be outside talking with friends or I'll be playing a game on my phone. That was fun.
Right. IDGAF about what she's doing.
And it was weird because I always thought that your partner would be someone who supported your dreams and stuff.
I read that in an article once.
After that relationship was over, this is the second time I'm going to bring up Costco. I was in a Costco.
It's an integral part of your life.
I love a Costco. I was listening to a podcast by Judge John Hodgman, and he was talking about how part of relationships are supporting your partner no matter what they want to do. And I started crying in front of the frozen pork medallions. It really it hit me bad.
It's hard when you find out that your partner is like they're at the top of your hater list. It's not great.
I'm going to set yours up a little bit because I know what yours is. So just open. Laura has now and has always had a beautiful singing voice. Some of our listeners have talked to me about it. She has an incredible voice, but your boyfriend's feedback was different.
Yes. My boyfriend, like yours, was the head of the hater committee for me. We were attempting to do a musical project, and he did not have
Because you
any
both
vocal.
love music and you're a
Well,
musician.
we're both musicians. We're both
Right.
musicians. And we were doing this project. You know, he didn't have any traditional training. And so his goal was for me to sing in the style of a band called Beat Happening. This woman, although I really enjoy her work, she is not singing. She is talking in kind of a sing-songy way. So we're recording and he's getting like increasingly frustrated with me. And he said he didn't like my singing voice because, you know, after years of training and lessons, he said that my voice was too trained.
It's too good. That's the problem.
Sounds like you put too much effort in it. It's almost
Right.
like you're bragging.
That would come up too. Like, it sounds like you're trying too hard. I think what these guys both had in common was that they wanted to be better at the thing that they were doing, but they weren't, neither of them willing to put any effort into it at all.
And in fact, after we split up, this person actually did have some success with his music career. And he wrote me a long email saying that he couldn't come to an event that I'd invited him to because when he saw me, he thought of the years that he didn't make music and he blamed me for it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I didn't realize it at the time, but this was kind of a long relationship that I was in. And one of the reasons that it ended was comedy, because my partner really liked being funny and being the center of attention. And I liked that about him as well. And he was so threatened when I started doing stand-up.
This has been a theme in almost all my relationships, is the competition aspect. Like, I like it when you're funny, but I don't like it when you're funnier than me. I like it when you're talented, but I don't like it when you're more talented than me.
I like it when you're talented in a way that makes me look good.
I don't like it when you outshine me in any way. Right? I mean, the demise of one of my longest term relationships happened at a karaoke bar. I think for these reasons.
When I did start touring and doing like road gigs, this person would accuse me of cheating all the time. And I was like, it's not like I am working in New York doing shows in Los Angeles. I'm in Coos Bay, Oregon. Like, there's nothing for me there.
Well, I think he was thinking if I were on the road all the time, that's
absolutely what I would do.
That's a projection.
I was living in Long Beach. The person I was seeing was in LA, which is technically a long distance relationship. So I would kind of like come up for the weekends and like hang for the weekend. And I left a bottle of vodka in this freezer. So I just have it. And then the next time I came over, it was gone. And I was like, well, maybe what happened to the vodka? And he was like, oh, I had a party and my friends drank it. And so I'm like, okay, fine. And then I
rude.
But then I brought another bottle of vodka over, and then he had another party and his friends drank it again.
Wow, this guy really threw a lot of parties.
It's weird because I never actually had people over that I saw.
When you were there.
When I was there, but
he was just throwing these ragers every weekend when you were gone. I was also in a relationship I've been in relationships with many alcoholics, but this guy was my quintessential alcoholic.
Your classic.
My classic. This was also an LDR. I was in Prague. He was in the UK. I bought him a 3-liter bottle of Jägermeister, which if you want to do the measurements, it is a giant bottle of Jägermeister. And
it's more Jägermeister than anyone should drink in a year.
Right. And I bought it because it was cheap.
Because it and you are cheap.
Exactly. If you're in the Czech Republic, you can get a 3-liter bottle of Jägermeister for like $10. I bought this giant bottle of Jägermeister, gave it to him as a gift, and a few weeks later when I visited, it was empty. It was gone. He also said he had a party and shared it with a bunch of friends. I later found out that he had lied and just drank the whole thing by himself.
Well, and also, the longer we knew that guy, the more we realized he didn't have any friends.
That was a tough moment because I remember when we were dating, I don't know why, I was looking at his contacts and he had all these names in there. So you never have plans with people. I never see you talking to people. You don't seem to associate with others. Who are all these people on your phone? Because they were all like nicknames. And he's like, oh,
Right.
that's the guy that does my taxes. And I'm like, oh, so you
Oh my
don't have
God.
any friends and you drink
No.
3-liter bottles in a week by yourself.
In a non-drug addict story, this guy, he was an introvert. He didn't usually go to parties. I spent a lot of time doing stuff on my own. It led to people being surprised that I had been in a 10-year relationship because they were like, well, we've never met this guy. I was headed to a pool party. You know, there's a couple jobs that I consider to be boyfriend jobs. They are zip up my dress.
Change my oil.
If you know how to change my oil, that would be great. You don't have to. That'd be cool. But another important boyfriend job is put sunscreen on my back, please. And so I was heading out. I asked him to put sunscreen on my back. And he stood behind me for a little while, and then he lost his temper and said he didn't have time to do it because he was preparing for a D&D campaign. And I think I cried a little bit. So I got to leave without sunscreen on my back and also feeling bad. And later we were talking to our couples therapist about it, and he was like, and I didn't have time to put sunscreen on her back. And she was insisting that I do it. And why didn't you have time? Obviously, I had to get ready for my D&D campaign.
And putting sunscreen on a person's back takes what? 30 seconds or less?
It may take up to 45 minutes, I guess, if you want to do it right.
Well, and it's bare minimum stuff. Would you put a necklace on? Would you put sunscreen on my back?
Necklace. That's another boyfriend job.
Yeah. You gotta
Bracelets.
do it. Bracelets.
Do it.
It's your job, sir.
What?
Man, you're a post.
I don't ask for a lot, Laura, but if you can help me put this bracelet on.
I also don't think I ask for a lot, but one year I made the mistake of having requests for Valentine's Day. I asked my partner to give me roses because he asked what I wanted. And I said, I want roses and I want you to take me to a fancy dinner. Instead, he gave me dyed carnations and he made spaghetti for me at home.
That's pretty close. There's something particular about that because the fact that he asked you what you wanted and then did something different.
It's not something different. It's something really crummy. If you did something different that was really good.
Right. That was also good.
Maybe you got me another really nice flower, or you took me for a different kind of experience that was also equally nice. But to say, hey, we're going to eat spaghetti on the couch.
No,
it's not equivalent. It's not. Well, it's specifically letting you and I both know, guess what? In the scale of things, you are the least important thing to me.
We had planned to do an outing, vintage outing at a bar in downtown LA. I do love historical Los Angeles, and he was very interested in that kind of thing too. When we got to the bar, it was just cheek and jowl, just like packed with people. You had to physically maneuver in between people to get anywhere. I said, hey, can we go? It's too crowded. I'm not enjoying it. I don't usually have claustrophobia, but I had a little bit of a panic. Just I couldn't get through the crowd and caught my dress on something and ripped it. I'm like, well, that's it. That's it for me. I'm ready to go. And he was really angry. And he said, well, you can do whatever you want, but I'm going to stay here. And like, it was loud and I didn't really hear what he said. I'm like, is it okay that we can go? And he's like, you can do whatever you want. I'm going to stay here. And then our friend was meeting us, and that was cool because then she showed up and I had to pretend that he hadn't been incredibly crummy to me.
Moments
before. I just had to shake it off and go, all right, let's have a fun time.
This is going to be great.
This
man just told me it's okay if he leaves me alone somewhere. That's great. That's awesome. Also, in a moment of a great person, I stopped having requests of this person in public places. I learned my lesson. I learned to bite my tongue until we were away from public spaces because I didn't want to have a scene. We were in actually a goth club, which is now defunct. And we were dancing, and there was this kind of like weird guy who was there. I could tell he was like sort of watching me when I was dancing, which is whatever. He was dancing by himself, which is also weird. He was like standing.
Free show.
Get an eyeful. He was kind of dancing by himself on this stage thing. You know what? He had these like Kanye West glasses with the slits in them so you couldn't see. I went to the restroom with a friend because that's what you do. And I was coming out of the restroom and the guy with the weird glasses was standing there waiting for me. And he said, I saw you dancing. I have this for you. And he grabbed my hand and he put it on his genitals. And it wasn't good. And so my defensive reaction was, wow, that's really small. And then I just kept walking. I didn't tell my husband because I knew that he would get in a fight with this person and probably lose. I waited until we were in a cab on the way home, and I shared that this man had sexually harassed me. And he said I asked for it because I dress inappropriately and I dance inappropriately. And he got out of the cab in the middle of downtown and just left me there.
He get out of the cab, then you get out of the cab, though.
Why did anyone have to get out of the cab?
I mean, but don't you think you were kind of asking for it? Like looking back. Looking back now.
You're right. You're right. I was wearing a dress. So you're right. I asked for it.
Okay. I got yelled at because I had put the knives into the butcher block wrong.
Well, I'm currently looking at your butcher block and they are wrong right now.
Because he insisted, no, it has to go like this. And I was like, I was so confused because I'd never heard that. And I actually Googled it.
Yeah.
Is there a wrong way to put knives back in the butcher block? And the internet says no.
There is for a person who has obsessive compulsive disorder. Correct.
And it's definitely worth yelling at someone for.
Other dumb things I've been yelled at for. He aggressively shoved me when I was sleeping because I was making too much noise while snoring. And this happened on more than one occasion. He would be actively angry with me in the morning if he'd had his sleep disturbed and just give me basically the silent treatment all day.
It is fun to get blamed for something that your body does.
And I remember I was in my therapy program at the time, and we had to do this reflective listening thing, which I really loathe and despise when it's being done to me. He said, well, pick something that's kind of like minor, like doesn't matter. So I picked this topic.
Right.
And, when he was reflecting back what I'd said, I just burst into tears. Oh, wow, this is really bad.
This really hurts. I had this one partner who the fight would never be over. We would have an interaction. I would get yelled at for whatever it is. I did learn to stop fighting because it did nothing. And so I would just kind of say, whatever. I went to bed. The fight had been going for hours and hours. And again, I had to get up because I live in the world and had a job. He wasn't done fighting. So he stood over me and yelled at me that I didn't like my friends and I was just using them. And I was a bad person. It was creepy. It was menacing. And later I was like, oh, this is abuse. At the time, I'm like, this is a pain in the ass.
This is abuse. Yeah.
This is abuse. And later I told him it was abuse and he was very surprised.
The thing about this is he just gets it. You do hate all your friends. That's something I've always known about. There's nothing you can't Verge to do. Hate everybody should know. So I'm going to see your abuse. I'm going to raise you one. When my father was very ill, he was close to death in the hospital. My partner got very angry with me because my visit to my dad made him late getting back to our town. And he missed the screening of a movie that had come out in the 1970s that he had seen before. It was crazy. I just thought, we've both seen this movie multiple times. Why do I have to leave my father at his deathbed so you can see a screener of Superman 2?
It's a good Superman.
It wasn't even Superman 1.
When my father was on his deathbed, spoiler alert, we have the same father. I was like, I have to go to Texas and see my dad. And I asked my partner to come with me. And
your dad on his deathbed when he was close
on my
to
deathbed.
death?
Yeah. And he said he didn't want to. And I said, okay.
Didn't he say he didn't like hospitals or something like that?
Didn't like hospitals. And he thought it sounded like, in general, a bummer. And I said, okay, that is okay for you to say. But when I come home, we will not live together. We will not be together. Like, this is something I need from you. So that was one day when I did put my tiny foot down and say, it's not a tiny foot. It's a size 10. I put my size 10 down.
I have the same size foot as yours and it's not tiny. Put your strong foot down.
That's so topical. I had a super minor surgery. I had a ganglion taken off my hand, but it was a surgery where I had general anesthetic. And I showed up to the hospital by my lonesome. The nurse was like, you didn't bring anybody with you? And I said, no. And she said, is your boyfriend like at work or something? And I said, no, he's at home.
He just had better stuff to do.
He just didn't want to come.
That is a bare minimum. Come to the hospital with me. I remember Emily had a similar situation with a guy she was seeing. Right. If I'm in the hospital, come. You need to come. He doesn't like hospitals. Okay. Just
get it. No.
Sorry.
Who does?
Sorry, dude.
Who's like, I love hospitals.
Yeah, I am. I love the smell. I love the fact that the cafeteria is always closed. In a similar bare minimum moment, my boyfriend at the time went on an international trip with me to visit my family and chose to go to bed at 6 p.m. every night and then sleep until, 10 or 11 a.m. every morning.
A lot of people need 16 hours of sleep a night. And how dare you judge him?
Well, it also made everything awkward. Oh, well, okay, guys. Well, we got to go. We can't have dinner with you and we can't have breakfast with you. We probably can't even make lunch. I spent a lot of time in the Airbnb doing my makeup.
More family stuff. We were at Christmas with my family and we were playing a game, and it was a party game. There were some risque questions. When the question came up about what he preferred in women's pubic grooming,
It let all of us know.
he let all of us know his preference, which is P.S. not what I do. And my mother was there, and he felt like he was a hero
He even
for staying
said,
with me.
I am
Yeah.
a hero. And I
I'm
thought,
a hero.
You're saying this in front of her siblings and her
And my
mom.
mother.
And it's Christmas. This is the moment that we need
This
to
is not the
reveal
time
this.
to talk about. This is not the time to talk about bikini area.
Another holidays edition on Christmas. This person ruined Christmas party by telling a guest that it was not our fault that no one wanted to date her. And I remember I knew it was going to happen. I could feel
Right.
it. She was single and we were all coupled.
Mhm.
And so we were playing these board games that required, partners and stuff. And she said he wanted to play the James Bond game that he had just gotten for Christmas. And it was a partner's game. And she said, I don't want to do that. I'm single. And I could feel like tension rising. And so I went to the bathroom and I stood in the bathroom. I heard him scream, it's not our fault that nobody wants to date you. And then I heard her scream, like just a scream. I just stayed in the bathroom for a while. And then when he was confronted by the host of the party, he stole my car and drove it drunk to our house and left me at the party.
Now, what did he think was wrong with this lady? Like, what was his big two bits about that?
What he thought was wrong was that she didn't want to do the thing that he wanted to do.
Oh, she was the beach.
She wasn't getting with the program. He wanted to play this game, and she said she didn't want to. And so
her inability to go along with playing the James Bond game is what's wrong with her, and why she doesn't deserve relationships.
Right. He chose to publicly shame her because she told him she didn't want to do what he wanted to do. I have also felt that with him. I felt it many times.
We're having so much fun that I think we're going to wrap up this episode with no resolution. We're going to part 1 and 2 it, guys, because we've got too much stuff.
We've got so much.
We've got too much stuff to do. And we promise that the next episode, there will be some sort of psychological value to it.
Instead of us just bagging on people we used to date.
So what are your thoughts right now about our list and our topic?
I mean, honestly, it just makes me sad because I feel like the one thing that you and I have in common, we have lots of things in common, but one of the main things we have in common is that we were raised in the same dysfunctional family. We thought that we should accept this behavior from other people.
Yeah, it's given us weird ideas about what is acceptable, what we deserve. We're also being reaffirmed by my dad that I was fat and unlovable a lot of my life. I'm like, well, I have to put up with this stuff.
And that you should have zero expectations of anybody.
Right. Because you could not have any expectations of that man.
No, you couldn't even expect that he was going to pick you up from a soccer game. No. So, Virginia, what are your final thoughts on this topic?
As embarrassing as it is and as terrible as this stuff is, I learned a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have learned it any other way. And so in a way, I have to be glad that we've had these experiences because I put up with hardly anything now. Like if you look at me sideways, I will get out of the cab and I will walk home.
So you'll be my ex. Wonderful.
Exactly.
That was a great person to date. Yeah, I think you're right. I remember I had someone once tell me that I take all the poison from my life and sort of alchemy it into knowledge and information for my clients. So if I hadn't had all of these terrible experiences, I don't think I would be as good at my job if I'd only had stable, healthy relationships because I have a thing called empathy because I've been there.
If you had had this mystical, perfect life, and we've talked about this before, like if you'd had supportive family, if you'd always grown up with lots of money and lots of resources and lots of opportunities, you wouldn't be anyone like you, the person you are today. What advice would that person have to give? Just like, well, just make sure and have a supportive family and people around you kind of cheerleading you. Make sure you can get into schools and everything's going to be pretty okay.
Well, I think that person would be a Christian counselor. That's who that person would be. Because a lot of them were in my program. There were a lot of 25-year-old blonde chicks who had experienced absolutely zero problems. We're just allowing the Lord to guide them.
Have you thought about prayer?
Oh, I've thought about it.
Laura, this is the part in the show where we sometimes read a listener review. Do you have one to share this week?
Yes, I do, in fact. We're going to go with a simple one from Cass Nasser. I really enjoyed listening to this. Thank you.
That's all it takes, guys. You don't got to write an essay if you don't want. I really enjoyed listening to this. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Cass Nasser. We appreciate you.
And now, Laura, if people want to find you online, where can they do that?
If people want to find me on the interwebs, they can find me at lauraryan.org. They can also find me on a little thing called the TikTok.
Tickety-tock.
Diggity Talk. I am Laura Ryan. They want to get on the internet and look at our stuff. We have a website, pretty simple title. It's mysistersatherapist.com. And we also have an Instagram page if you want to follow us. Virginia, where do people find you on these interwebs?
You can find me at my website, bedinia.com. And that's also my TikTok and my Instagram. And I wish you would. I'm doing stuff all the time. And do write us a review. Do drop us a note if you have an idea for a topic. If you just want to tell us terrible things that people did to you and you stayed, you can do that.
I mean, I would be really into that. I'm in it
At
for, I'm a
hello.com.
nosy person and I want to hear all of your stuff. Hello at mysistersatherapist.com. If you want to hire us to speak at your women's conference, your mental health conference, your leadership event, your wellness event, if you want to be in a women's retreat that we start, let us know because we're thinking about it. And you can email us at hireus@mysistersatherapist.com. And in the immortal words of Billy Ray Valentine Capricorn, we can make it, baby.
Me and you.
Bye-bye.